Hi, my name is Fatima Abdul, and this is my overview video for week 7, ABA 626. I'll be discussing my SAFMEDS data and progress, my study methods and adjustments I made based on my data, and whether or not I met my objectives thus far. As you can see, this is my Precision X ABA 626 chart depicting data for decks 1, 2, and 3 here. For decks 1 and 2, there was very little variability in my ACEL scores, and deck 3 showed a little bit more variability in the scores, especially over here. However, I had an upward and ascending increasing trend line across all decks so far, and a low level and stable zero trend across for my decel scores across all 7 weeks thus far. For deck 2, I was able to reach mastery by the end of week 6. I was able to reach mastery at 27 cards within the 2-second time limit. I believe that this was mostly because I had 3 weeks to study and to perform trials for deck 2, so the increased amount of time spent on deck 2 helps me to achieve mastery, in addition to my study strategies that I implemented, where I increased my number of trials and pre-trials for in order to maintain consistent upward progress for deck 2. This is because one of my main objectives for all decks have always been to hit the aim band and maintain continuous upward progress. Additionally, my main goal is to achieve mastery of my decks. This really indicates to me that I've really covered all the content and that I have retained the content of the SAFMEDS cards and material. So that's why those are my main objectives. For Fluency Deck 2, there was little to no variability in my scores and a very low stable level in my scores for Deck 1 neutral, for the neutral deck. This data was collected for this from week 3 onwards with Deck 1 cards, Deck 1 definition cards. There were only 9 cards. This is why I was able to very easily and quickly achieve mastery of this deck from weeks 3 to 6. By week 6, with the addition of the Deck 2 definition cards, I was finally able to hit the aim band and maintain upward progress with my neutral deck for onwards. So this has been my Fluency Deck 2 data. I'm hoping to achieve mastery of this deck by the end of week 8 as well. With regards to my study methods and adjustments, my main study method for each new deck was to study the new deck very intensively, where I would separate the cards of each new deck into small, similar, or same term piles and study those. And then I would compile all the smaller term piles into the one main deck and then do a few run-throughs or untimed trials of these cards, where I would say the answer and check it to make sure. This entire process took about 1 to 2 hours and was only done once at the start of implementing each new deck. Additionally, for each session afterwards, I would do an untimed trial where I would refresh my memory of the cards and go through the deck once untimed before starting my timed trials. I would usually do 5 timed trials. However, if I'm experiencing any difficulties in increasing my ACELs, and for most of deck 2 to make sure that I was able to reach mastery, I increased both my pre-trials and my trials. So that was another study strategy or intervention I put into place to ensure upward progress and to ensure that I met my objectives, where I would increase both my pre-trials from one pre-trial to two pre-trials. So I would go over the deck 2 times fully, untimed, before starting my timed trial sessions. My timed trial sessions also increased from 5 times to 10 times. By the end of this entire process, I was always able to make consistent upward progress with my ACEL scores across all decks so far. Other study interventions and methods that I put into place have been to organize my workspace and declutter it to make sure that I can focus well on my work. This has served me really well because it puts me in the right frame of mind so that I'm able to concentrate on my task at hand, which would have been my trials at the time, and I would have little to no distractions. Additionally, I would ensure that I do my work earlier before I start studying, do my trials and sessions, SAFMEDS sessions earlier before I start studying, because if I do it after, usually I'd feel very tired, and this would affect my ACEL scores. So to prevent this from happening, I would do my trials before I start my studying, and this would take place early in the night time. So that was another study method and intervention I put into place to make sure that I was able to consistently meet my objectives of hitting the aim band, making consistent progress, and ensuring that the content covered across all decks was definitely retained and really remembered throughout over all the weeks. So those were my main study methods, interventions, and my SAFMEDS data and progress for weeks 1 to 7 so far. And I think I was able to meet my objectives, and I'm very happy with my progress so far. Thank you very much.